Andrew Algara. And as you can see, we have three speakers. So, our second speaker, our next panelist, is currently the head of the Equities Department of the Investment Division of Security Bank. Prior to joining SBC, he was a portfolio manager slash strategist and equity research analyst with Investment Advisory and Trust Group of the First Metro Investment Corporation. He was also an equity research analyst with Center for Financial Research and Analysis, an MSCI brand. He had a role of a business area controller with Deutsche Knowledge Services, where he was looking after the firm's London equity proprietary trading desk and its global equity derivatives index structured business. He is a CFA charter holder and graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Management, minor in Economics and Finance from the Ateneo de Manila University. Please help me welcome Mr. Basil Go. Our last but definitely not least speaker is currently the head of the multi-asset strategies for ATR Trust Corporation and is a member of the firm's investment committee. Previously, she was assigned as head of dealing and order execution for the ATC investment groups. Her over 10 years of experience in the investments and financial services industry include having exposure as an equities analyst, a fixed income trader and portfolio manager, and a risk and compliance officer. She holds a master's degree in physics from the University of the Philippines. She completed the BAP Treasury Certification Program, the TIFP one-year course on trust operations and investment management, and is an SEC certified securities representatives. She was awarded one of the most astute She was awarded one of the most astute investors in Asian currency bonds by the Asset magazine for the years 2012 and 2013. She has been a CFA charter holder since 2013. She is a wellness and fitness advocate, a passionate sports person, and a science and nature lover. She is also a devoted wife and a mother to her two boys, ages 4 to 1. Please help me welcome Miss Alessandra Araulo Gonzalez.
Good afternoon.
So, well, this panel would be answering a lot of questions that a lot of you guys might have regarding your career opportunities in the future. Considering a lot of you raised your hands that you're graduating, and I'm pretty sure you have a lot of questions to ask these guys, considering that they're already, you could say, really successful in their chosen careers and their chosen career paths. So I guess the first question I'd like to ask, I think a lot of you would like to know, is what effect did your college educations have on your respective career paths?
Yeah, so I guess I'll answer that question. So I took up, as mentioned by JJ, I took up management and I minored in economics and finance. So definitely when I was in college, I really wanted to be a fund manager already. I mean, but having said that, I don't think that the course should be the sole driver of where you want to be what sort of job you want to land in, right? Because I know of several fund managers who didn't take up a course in finance, some philosophy grads, some psychology graduates. So finance, I mean, as long as you work hard and you really have a passion for fund management, I think you can pursue a field in finances and portfolio management. You shouldn't limit your course to what sort of career you'll end up in. I mean, at the end of the day, it's your life. So if you like, I think that, you shouldn't let the course dictate of where you want to be in the future.
Actually, I agree with Basil. Your course will not really define what you're going to be afterwards. You'll learn a lot along the way. Like me, I'm in a math-heavy course. Maybe it's a bit easier to pick up the math, but being honest in portfolio management, generally some of the math you'll really need is basically plus, minus, multiply, divide. That's basically a lot of it. If you're thinking you're do a lot of regression analysis and stuff like that, don't worry, you don't really do a lot of it. You'll probably go up and read some of the reports of research and everything, but as long as you understand most of it, know your basic accounting and such, it's gonna be, and you're passionate about portfolio management, you're gonna make it. You don't have to You let your course define you or what your career will be.
Yeah, just to add to that, maybe I think in my experience, college was a time for skill building. So my course was had nothing to do with finance or economics or business administration or accounting, and during my time, that was a bit of a handicap. I came from the sciences. But in choosing my course, the advice I got was to pick something that is hard to learn by yourself. So I studied physics. And it's good advice because when I kind of figured out what I would like to be doing, there are ways to I already built that, or I already developed that discipline where I can learn it myself. And if you have resources like CFA, for example, then you just do the work that you got used to doing in college, and you can bring it to where you want to take it.
Thank you so much for those answers. I guess another thing that I've always heard, especially growing up and being told what to do, is that if you find your passion, you never work a day in your life. So would you say that you found your passion in your current careers?
I like to add to that. It's not just about passion and finding what you love to do, and if you don't love it, then you move to the next. It's a balance. It's passion and it's what you're good at. And there's a certain level of it requires a bit of maturity and honesty with yourself on what you're really good at. Because certain functions require certain hard skills or certain soft skills. So if you're good at something and you're succeeding, it kind of leads into being passionate about what you're doing because you're getting success, you're getting positive feedback. But to answer straight your question, if this is my passion, yes, I would say so. Not particularly portfolio management or investment management. I'm passionate about just learning and continuously learning, and there's no such thing as being or earning mastery in this sort of field. You're learning every day, so that's what I'm passionate about.
I like to add, I agree. Passion is something, yeah, maybe finance or portfolio management may not be particularly your passion, but in general, I would say like finance is a passion of mine. The best thing I ever, when I follow this path, I think the best thing for me, at least, is when I wake up in the morning, I like to go to work. I wake up, it's exciting to go to work. Every day is a new challenge. That's something that's nice about portfolio management. When you get in, you see your news reports, you see what your positions are, and every day there's a new challenge to do. And as long as you always try to learn from every challenge and learn every day, you're gonna succeed in this kind of career.
Yeah, so I agree. So definitely, if passion, I mean, the liking your work is definitely one driver to really do well in it, right? So if you're miserable every day, I mean, you don't like your colleagues, you don't like your boss, you don't like the culture of your company, you're definitely not going to do well, right? So for me, I've been very fortunate that I like what I do, and if you like what you do, you don't have, I mean, every day is just a new challenge. Especially in the financial management, there's always something new. I mean, something will pop out of nowhere. So it's not boring, it's not static. That's what interests me, and so that's why every Monday I mean, some people when they get up on a Monday morning, they really hate it. But me, when I come in on a Monday, I'm really happy. So if that doesn't make you happy, then there's something wrong.
Thank you for those answers so much, panelists. Okay, so now we get to the more essential things about your job. So what would you say is really essential to do your job like well and properly?
I guess for me, when I start or I start a year or I start my day, you should always have a plan. Um, that's where it all starts. If you come in and not knowing what you want to do or not knowing your position or not knowing where you want certain things to be, it's not gonna work out. So always have a plan, whether it's in equity trading or FI trading. You should always have what you think will happen. We're gonna look forward and think what will happen to your positions. I think that's one of the most important things. Another important thing for me, at least, in terms of technically what my job is, always know how to exit. It's always easy to buy. You can get a stock that you like or certain fixed income you like, but at the end of the day, the hardest thing I ever have to do is take a hit. When you're down 10%, it's really hard to sell. So that's something, but if you have a plan, that you know what, if I'm down by 10 or the price hits a certain point, I gotta sell this. Then it's gonna be a bit easier. I know it's easy to say, but it's one of the hardest things to do. Especially if you have a certain ego or a certain pride that, my
Yeah.
position, I believe in this position.
I think what you're talking about is really humility and
Yes.
humility and discipline. And that's what you just, I mean, they're life skills. There's nothing special about if this is what you want to do. You don't have to be a certain qualification. It helps if you understand a lot of the technical stuff. But I think the more critical skills are, you're disciplined about your plan. You know how to execute. You don't fall in love with your positions. You're humble enough to admit na, okay, I was wrong. Actually, you can be both wrong and right at the same time in this job. And it's a question of what do you do? How do you proceed if things aren't working in your favor, or if markets aren't exactly going the way you expected it to? You might have been right in your analysis, but there's still something that happens which, what your expectation is doesn't exactly pan out, and you just have to be able to respond quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So, in a nutshell, just when executing a trade, whether you're buying or selling a particular security, always plan your trade and trade your plan. You shouldn't deviate from your strategy. And of course, as mentioned by both speakers, that humility is really crucial. So, for instance, I've been presenting to crowds before, and whenever one of the things they would ask me are stock picks or stock picks that I want for the year. So whenever I do stock picks, I always give a caveat to my the people listening. So whenever I recommend a stock today, if something happens, whether later today or an hour from today or a week from now, when I like the stock, when something happens and doesn't pan out, I would sell it right away. So even if I like the stock I really had a strong conviction that stock, but something happens, it didn't pan out, or some outside news affects the stock, I would sell it right away. So you have to be humble. You have to be able to accept your mistakes. At the end of the day, your goal is to make money and not prove that you're right.
Yep.
Yes, that's very true. I think that is very true, anyways. So, right beside this hall, we have a talk concerning about financial technology. And I just wanted to ask, because considering the coming up of a lot of financial technology, artificial intelligence and all, especially in the world of investments, do you think there would still be a future in this career, considering that it will become, technologically advanced already in the future?
Somebody needs to run these machines, right? And that's where, perhaps 10, even 5 years ago, the technical skill sets are really critical. But looking ahead, I think it's more of the soft skills that are going to matter. Being able to manage, being able to connect the dots. There's a limit there is still going to be a limit on what AI is going to be able to achieve, even in the next 10, 20 years. The human brain is, it's an organic living thing. It's hard to replicate. The only advantage these machines have over us today, or over you today, is their computational capacity, their ability to store so much information. But at the end of the day, they're gonna spew out the data. They're gonna give you the analysis. But what are you gonna do with that? So looking ahead, in this kind of a role, that's where your soft skills become a little bit more important.
Yeah, I agree. I think AI and all this technology, it's a tool. It's a tool you will use. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a person who has to wield the tool. So as you know, time passes, 10 years, 20 years from now, yeah, the soft skills will really be needed. Especially, let's say, I would think, especially in terms of sales. At the end of the day, we're actually portfolio managers, but at the end of the day, somebody has to buy our products. So perhaps in the next 10 years, you need to build up your skill set and be able to talk to clients more. Explain to them what's happening in the market, because a machine can't do that. A machine can churn out numbers, can even trade for you, but it can never actually talk to a person and see what a person wants or a client wants or a client needs. So I think there's always going to be a future in finance in that sense.
Yeah, so I agree. So I'm not just saying this because I want to protect my job and all that, right? So, but in reality, I think that AI or computers are still long ways to go because yeah, they can crunch numbers much quicker. They can analyze various forms of sets of data much quicker in a faster, more efficient way. But I mean, they cannot, for me, they still have a long ways to go in terms of the qualitative and subjective factors in assessing, say, management competence. So let's say, in my case, I meet with a lot of corporates when I'm meeting with listed stocks and I meet with management in assessing whether a particular manager is competent. Those are certain qualitative factors, whether, assessing whether management is disingenuous or being really truthful in their language. I mean, there's some things that, I think our AI or computers have long ways to go.
Thank you so much. Okay. From my introductions of you guys, I could really say that you guys have been doing this for quite a while. That's safe to say, right? Okay. So, considering that a lot of these guys would want to become like you, basically, what advice would you give them? Like, what were the mistakes you made early on that you wish you hadn't, especially like when you were just starting off?
So I'll answer. So I'm not just saying this because we're in a CFA event, right? But definitely I would advise everyone who's really serious in the field of finance is, you have to pursue the CFA charter. I mean, the job landscape is really competitive, and I mean, just see you guys, so many people, over 2,500, if I believe. So it's really competitive. So you have to differentiate yourself from other job applicants, right? So you have to set yourself apart. And one way to distinguish yourself is, one, take the CFA, because the CFA is a sign that you're really passionate about finance. You're very diligent in passing all three levels. I believe the pass rates are, if you take the level 1, only 20% finish until level 3. So
I think it's much lower actually,
Yeah.
8-10%.
okay.
So
So you got the latest data. So yeah, I mean, it's really difficult. So I guess take the CFA, and definitely when you're in your job, I mean, if you look at my background, I started really low. I was actually in DK as a back office. So I really did a lot of grunt work when I started. So don't, just when
don't
you're,
discount it.
yeah,
You
just
have to
remember,
start somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, all the hard work, you have to start from the bottom. I mean, if you're a fresh grad and your expectation is you're gonna be given like several billions of pesos to manage, then so there's something wrong, right? Your expectations are just out of your, not realistic. So you have to really work from the bottom up and really, go up the ladder and show that you're really putting the time and the effort in building yourself, your career, your skill set, and showing the company that you're really, you're adding value. You're adding value to clients.
In my case, I wouldn't say this was a mistake I made, but I would say that not by design, just so happened that I work for ATR Asset Management. I've been with ATR for the last 10 years. It's practically my, I don't know, third job. I was with a brokerage firm, local brokerage firm, for less than a year, and it was like an internship. And then I joined Union Bank Trust and Investment Services Group as a risk manager. I wanted to be a portfolio manager, but it's hard to get in, so okay, I'll do middle office. And then I got lucky and got my role as an equities analyst in ATR. And then I just stayed. I stayed on. I mean, I saw that it's a small firm. It wasn't a bank. It wasn't a big bank, and there were a lot of opportunities inside the firm. And I noticed a lot of my contemporaries, because I'm an older millennial, you know. So a lot of my contemporaries were changing jobs every 2 years. And to be honest, even myself, I thought staying in a company for 2 years was long. But in looking back, 2 years is nothing. Umpisa ka pa lang nun. So if I have any piece of advice, it says a lot, especially of younger people, that value na you can stay the course. You can stick it out, and when it seems hard, you're not always looking past and thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. You can do that, pero it also reflects on your ability to really develop the skills necessary to get that momentum, to really find out what you want to be doing. So that's my contribution.
Actually, they're right. I think if you're want to be a portfolio manager and you're fresh grad, the likelihood of you being a portfolio manager from college is it's 0 to very, very, very low. I'll be honest with you guys. I started out with risk, same as Bachelor. I came from city shared services, so not even risk analysis. I just did risk reporting. But from there, I learned about value at risk, interest rate exposure. Just something I learned along the way. So I just keep learning from that experience. No matter how operational it is, there's something to learn. And from there, I was able to move to trust. And I did sales part, account officer, sales. So from there, I learned how to deal with clients, how to deal with retirement funds. And when I was there, I never took, of course, my goal was always to become a portfolio manager, but when I was there, I tried to learn as much as I can. Because every single thing, every step you take will lead you towards your goal. And I was lucky enough that another position opened. It's basically a hybrid position in BDO. They need somebody to talk to clients and also manage a portfolio. So it's perfect. Perfect. I was able to get my charter during that time. So I have my charter, then I had a sales job, I had sales experience and account officer experience. So I went on an interview. They liked me.
You're the right guy for the
right guy for the job. It's exactly what they need, the hybrid type of person. And so that's how it went. So for you guys out there, it's being honest, just grind it out. Learn from every place, whether it's sales, whether it's risk, whether it's operations, doesn't matter. Learn from it, and hopefully you take your charter, and it will really be a big help as well to differentiate you out from other candidates.
Okay. This might be the last question. We're kind of pressed for time. I'm really sorry. But I think our people here would really want to know, do you guys have any early mentors or early people of inspiration that really helped guide you in your career choices and how you became what you are right now?
I guess I'll go first. For me, it's closer to home. It's actually my brother. My brother, I don't know if I think Basil knows him. He's Rafi Algara. He was a treasurer in Security Bank, and now he's an EVP for East West. So think about it, he's 16 years older than me, but he was my roommate. So think about it, when I was 12, he was starting out in his job, and he got into treasury. And I believe at that time, Citibank Treasury. So when he comes home every day, he tells me about his work. So at a young age, at 12 years old, I learned about forwards, fixed income. He talks about, I didn't understand anything he was saying. He just likes to talk a lot. So he talks about options and all
Through
that
Asian
stuff.
financial crisis pa
Through
to.
the Asian financial crisis. I remember that day, 1998. That was a bad, I remember him. He was down. I remember he was telling me, you know what, even though I remember my sister-in-law, his girlfriend at the time, he told her, I think I'm going to get fired tomorrow. Because everybody was down. He was in Stanchart by then. But he always told me, what I learned from him afterwards, you know what, he saw the answer in a dream. So he had a dream. The next day, he was able to reverse his position. And for that year, he said 90% of the bank's profit was him. That's why he was able to go to Singapore and such. And when he told me that story, you know what, it really motivated me, you know what? And it told me that no matter how bad things get, You should just work it out through your head, and there might be a solution to your problem. So, well, for him, me, and his experience and what all the stories he told me that really uh, drove me towards actually even ME. He's an ME grad, so I went through at an ME. Then I tried to become a portfolio manager because, I was, I guess, molded by him in a way.
You're lucky you have a brother turned out to be your mentor as well. I'm the older sister, so my brother is, well, not, I'm his idol. So. But similarly, I would say that my mentor is someone who I still work with today and I still look up to. He's not a relative, but I consider him like a brother as well, like a kuya. He was my first boss in ATR, and he's still my boss now. He's tough, but I also know that he's really, really good at what he does. So, it helps. It helps a lot to find that mentor. But you don't go out and say na, okay, I'm looking for a mentor. Who can my mentor be? You just have to be open to finding that person who is really interested in helping you out and supporting you in what you do. So, syempre, boss ko siya. So, kung anong success ko, success niya din. Kaya, it worked out. And for the last 10 years, that relationship hasn't changed much. I'm still learning every day from my interactions with him. So, I'm talking about Dino Basas. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, in my life, I wouldn't say I have a specific person that I work with that really inspired me to be in finance. But I guess this is more of a cliche. You could say a cliche answer, but one of the greatest investors of all time, Warren Buffett, definitely is one of the people I look up to. As cheesy as it may sound, right? Like when I was in college, I really looked up to him. So that's why I wanted to be in fund management. Just look at his long-term track record, right? And definitely one of the richest people in the world right now because of his value investing strategies. That he really, a person who's not only smart, but a person that's only whose memory is just unbelievable. He can get facts and dates and specific dates. He remembers it despite his age and his integrity. That's really critical. So his integrity. So he never compromises. Definitely. One of his quotes was. You build your reputation. You build your reputation. You can ruin your reputation in just 5 minutes. You build your reputation for a lifetime, but you can ruin it in 5 minutes. So, I guess he's a person that great moral character and somebody who really works hard. And you see him. Just look at his documentaries. You can get a lot of stuff from him and learn a lot. Just reading, learning. And his passion in stock picking.
Doesn't even have a Bloomberg, right? I saw the documentary.
Yeah, I agree. Warren Buffett's really up there with stock gods, I guess. Okay, so I guess it's time now for you guys to answer questions from the audience, courtesy of the CFA app. So we have questions in. I think the simplest, easiest question or hardest question to answer maybe for you guys is from Michael. He's asking, what's a good place to start in if I want to be a portfolio manager?
I have an answer. My analyst now, my multi-asset analyst, so what he does for me is he does fund analysis. He attended this event 2 years ago, and he was in the audience, and my boss was a speaker, I think doing the same thing, talking about how to become a portfolio manager. And he just approaches my boss and asks him, do you have an opening? And I'm gonna submit my resume. And I interviewed so many other guys for the role, guys and girls. And when I met this guy, parang the thing that stood out for me really was he knew what he wanted to do. He approached my boss and then napunta sa akin yung resume niya. So sige, I'll give him a chance. And I never really, so he's been with our firm for a year. He's grown so much. I'm so impressed by what he's been able to achieve, and he really was able to step up fresh grad. Actually, the role I needed, medyo the skill set required, ano na rin, mataas na din. But, you know, he's able to fulfill that requirement because he knows what he wants. And he goes to the right venues, like this event, for example. He meets the right people, he meets the right network, he asks the right questions. So yeah, that's one thing, one way to skin a cat.
Somebody might give a resume today.
So guys, if you have resumes ready, you can always give it to them. They're just in front if you want to try your luck, shoot your shot. Okay, so I think this is going to be our last question from the audience, and I think this is a really good question. So Myra here asks, how are we going to be fully decided on what part of the finance industry shall we go to, especially to those finance students who are still undecided on what career path to take?
Yeah, actually, I mean, the only way to find out, I mean, you're still young, you guys are still young, it's just really to try a lot of different things, no? At the end of the day, if you're still lost, you don't know what you want to do after you graduate, at the end of the day, you have to try different things, no? And see what piques your interest. There's no other way. I mean, you won't, I mean, sometimes you might bump into something that, wow, I didn't know there was such a thing that existed, right? So that could potentially be the career that you choose. So I guess my answer is just try different things, meet different people, try to network, and as mentioned earlier, you attending these types of events helps significantly, diba? Just knowing that there's such an event like this already gives you an edge over other graduates.
Yeah, I think you should always be open. A thing with college for me, college is there's so much more out after college. So if you think you know banking, you know finance, you don't, being honest, you don't know anything about banking and finance. Once you enter banking and finance, then there are so many jobs out there. And as long as you're open, even if it's not part of your function, maybe talk to the person beside you, talk to the person of the other department, try to network, and you learn that maybe I want to be that risk guy, or maybe I want to be the compliance guy. So even if you're in the bank and you're a salesperson, open yourself up. Be open to other people, talk to other people. Maybe even, I remember I had a call with a colleague of mine. I learned about cash management from him just because he was beside me. We were in the same car. Took an hour to get through EDSA traffic, so I learned everything about, I was in BPI back then, BPI cash management. So I never knew anything about cash management. So something like that.
That's a really good question. Kasi dami, merong sell side, may buy side, may analyst, merong trader, may dealer, may risk, may middle office, front office. So to add to all of what they said earlier, ask questions. People are happy to answer questions, and in fact, I just wanna end with this. I don't know what you call it, but there's this thing that the more you know, the more you don't know. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And if your attitude is that okay, I'm gonna attack this and mastery and I'm gonna be the best, whatever, you're headed in the wrong direction because in this function or in this industry, it's good, you're in a good place when you have a lot of questions and you acknowledge that there's a lot that you don't know, and that's just how it goes. So it's a good place to start to already ask these sort of questions and just carry on as you go through your career and figure out what you want to do.
Okay, really quick, last thing, because I just want you guys to at least give out a quote on advice on what you can give to the graduating students who came here looking for advice, basically, on how they're gonna go through with their career. So, yeah.
I guess I kind of said it already. Be open. For me, sometimes your first job may not be your dream job, being honest. Your first job you're gonna get, maybe when you applied, you didn't get the job you wanted, then suddenly you just need to go to work because you need to feed yourself. Take the job, be open, and learn from it. No matter what job it is, there's always something to learn. I always said, when I got into a sales job, I realized, you know what? If you know how to sell something, it doesn't matter what you sell.
You're
If you know
set
the
for
skill-
life.
Yeah, you can sell. I can sell a ball pen. If you learn how to sell, you can sell a ball pen. You can sell finance. You can sell insurance. Oh, I sold insurance for a while, and believe me, if you can sell insurance, you can probably sell anything. So just be open. Learn from it. There's always something to learn.
Yeah, so um, my advice was probably touched earlier already, but I guess just three simple things. You have to have passion, passion in what you do. You have to like what you do. There's no point doing something that you're miserable. You wanna, you don't like what you're doing. You're basically you have to have passion in what you do. You have to you have to work very hard. I mean, there are no shortcuts to success. At the end of the day, like in my case, I'm always first in the office. So like before the office, I mean, I'm the person who turns on the lights because I like what I do. I really work hard. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a tough industry. I mean, you're competing with thousands of people, and if you look at the industry, it's just a shallow. There are only a handful of banks and institutions and insurance companies, so the jobs for these fund management is very limited. So you have to really set yourself apart from the pack. And the way to do it is hard work, passion, and of course, humility, as mentioned. At the end of the day, as what Sandra mentioned, I really agree. I mean, the more you know, you think you know something. In reality, there's a lot of things that you really don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, there's vast sources of information out there. There's always something new. And the moment you relax and you take a break, somebody out there is working much harder, working overtime, working longer hours than you. So you have to really, really work harder.
Maybe just to round it out, my advice to you guys now at this stage in your lives, self-mastery. You have to, you're not responsible for anybody else yet but yourselves. You're coming out of college, and in college, everything is well defined. It's prescribed. You take this course, and then this course, and then this course. This is your grade, very rigid. You're gonna graduate from that phase in your life, and now you're moving on to a period where there's a lot more freedom and a lot more responsibility, and use that to really get to know yourselves and what you're good at and what makes you excited in the morning, and it will flow. Everything else will flow. And enjoy life. I mean, your youth is what's the saying? Youth is wasted on the young. So just take it easy and enjoy life.
Thank you so much, speakers. I don't know about you guys, but I learned a lot here.